Donetsk was the region where intense clashes took place decisively in the war between Russia and Ukraine. When Russia faced an unexpected resistance in this war, it suffered an unexpected military loss. The Russian government, which officially announced its military losses in March last year, knows that its military losses have reached very high figures. Because the Ministry of Defense constantly complains about this issue. The Russian army is experiencing difficulties in the war, difficulties in finding soldiers to send to the fronts. The Russian government has found a new solution for this. He introduced the possibility of amnesty for prisoners in Russian prisons. He sends prisoners to the front for $3,000 and announces that their sentences will be forgiven if they return to their country alive at the end of 6 months. The Russian government had to resort to such solutions because it had serious problems with the military. This news was first announced by the British media. The Russian government and the media have not officially announced this decision. However, according to insider information received by the British media, first of all, in the St. Petersburg prison, this decision began to be implemented. It was stated that prisoners in the St. Petersburg prison were recruited and sent to the front for $3,000, and if they returned alive at the end of 6 months, their sentences would be cancelled. However, the report states that the prisoners will be on the front line in the face of the Ukrainian army at the front. Even what Russia has done is a crime against humanity. They send their citizens, who have no military knowledge and experience, to the front in exchange for money, and they take part in the front line of the war, considering themselves insignificant because of their convictions. Putin should be tried for every crime he committed in this war after the war is over. The family of one soldier told the news channel that Putin and his government are ruthless. He stated that they ordered the prisoners to protect the homeland and said that they would fight as pioneers. He said he knew many of them would not be able to return. At the end of 6 months, they said they would give the remaining $3,000 and that their fines would be cancelled. If he died, his family would be given $70,000, but all of this was given verbally, none of it was written down on paper, he said. We see how cruel Russia is not only against Ukraine and Ukrainian citizens, but also against its own citizens. During the attempted invasion of Ukraine by Russia, sanctions and pressure are being applied to Russia from many states, especially the United States and Western countries. Russia is experiencing economic and political difficulties in the face of these sanctions. While Russia is warning them to put an end to these sanctions, it is trying to threaten European countries with natural gas and oil. The support for Ukraine in the war is not only sanctions against Russia. Ukraine is provided with many weapons, ammunition, equipment and material support from the United States, Great Britain and the European Union. During the attempted invasion of Ukraine by Russia, sanctions and pressure are being applied to Russia from many states, especially the United States and Western countries. Russia is experiencing economic and political difficulties in the face of these sanctions. While Russia is warning them to put an end to these sanctions, it is trying to threaten European countries with natural gas and oil. The support for Ukraine in the war is not only sanctions against Russia. Ukraine is provided with many weapons, ammunition, equipment and material support from the United States, Great Britain and the European Union. The support provided to Ukraine comes from many countries, not only politically and economically, but also militarily. It is reported that fighters from 55 countries who took part in the fighting on the Ukrainian fronts in the war taking place on the territory of Ukraine took part in the clashes. Speaking to the British news agency, the Ukrainian press spokesman Legion said that the most numerous foreign fighters who took part in the fighting on the Ukrainian fronts are US and British soldiers. These soldiers are not mercenaries, as Russia does. Soldiers who came voluntarily to support Ukraine and whose expenses were covered by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. In addition, the Legion said that Russia carried out the most brutal attacks on Ukraine in European history. It is believed that Putin is preparing for a long war, but according to military experts, he explained that the Russian armed forces do not have the strength and resources to withstand such a long war. Russian officials, on the other hand, say that the war has dragged on so long because of the United States. Without the support of the United States, they would have been able to invade Ukraine. Nechayev said that the support provided by the United States to Ukraine is causing the war to prolong. The United States has sent $12 billion in support to Ukraine since 2014. But $10 billion of this support took place from the time the war began to this day. The people of Ukraine and President Zelensky of Ukraine are grateful for this support and express their gratitude at every opportunity. Russia, on the other hand, complained a lot about these supports, did not expect that such support would be provided, and thought that it would seize it more easily. Russian Defense Ministry official Konashenkov announced in a written statement that they have occupied the Udi settlement in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. Intensified clashes between Ukrainian and Russian troops in Donetsk region, who lives as a result of the air defense system, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, claimed that they destroy ammunition and several hit the store. The facts of this attack have not yet been confirmed by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. The spiritual leader of Catholic Christians, Pope Francis, also touched on the war in Russia and Ukraine in an interview. Saying that Russia should stop this brutal attack, the Pope noted that the Russians are sending mercenaries to the territory of Ukraine to fight, and this is an atrocity. He mentioned that these mercenaries sent to the Ukrainian fronts are harming innocent citizens living in Ukraine. He also said that this war should be stopped as soon as possible and that no more citizens should be harmed. Pope Francis, who said that Russia made a miscalculation by thinking that the war would end in a week, also said that they had encountered a people who were struggling for survival by showing brave and incredible resistance in the face of Russia. We have mentioned that there are 55 volunteer soldiers from different countries taking part in the Ukrainian fronts in this invasion attempt carried out by Russia. According to the latest sad news, a Czech citizen lost his life. The Czech Ministry of Defense stated in a statement that its citizens who voluntarily took part in the Russian-Ukrainian war lost their lives in the face of brutal Russian attacks and they are very sorry for this. He stated that he has no resentment towards Ukraine regarding this issue, that they will continue to support the Ukrainian people until the end, but they are very sorry for their citizens who lost their lives in the war. It was learned that he came to Ukraine from the Czech Republic last month. It was announced that 200 soldiers who served in the Czech Republic applied to serve as volunteers in Ukraine, and 100 of them were sent to the Ukrainian fronts. Russia has become the first Czech citizen to lose his life in the Ukrainian war. The same sad news was announced by the French Foreign Ministry last week. One of the French soldiers who voluntarily came to Ukraine to take part in the fighting lost his life. The French Foreign Ministry said in a statement that they did not want any more French citizens to lose their lives. A non-combat news from Ukraine, it was about the recovery of vehicles that turned into scrap in the face of bombs from Russia.